Hello, Earthlings and fellow Americans. So, I think I have to do an anal probe on someone. This is a guy at an address we'll just call 1154, even though nobody has that number, who spent an hour at the top of his driveway talking to people on the phone and neighbors from up the street about it being the perfect time to have me removed from my home. Because I'm not even talking to my father, which means he probably watched the video about me and Bob. But I don't think he paid attention, and I don't think he watched it all the way, because I have more than one father. Not from a gay marriage. I have my real father, and I have my foster father. And I have other family of various kinds. So, him saying that got me up off my butt off the couch to go curiously look and see who was saying this. And I look across towards where the echo's coming from, and lo and behold, it's him. He has one of these interesting yards. You know the kind where they think they're being artsy-fartsy, but it's not very well done. And there's gravel all over, that white gravel, and they think it's so gorgeous. It's basically a big driveway with statues in it. And then his driveway is paved. So he's got a weird statue of a cat that's painted black and it's peeling, and other different silly items that I'm sure might have looked cute at one point, but they're not really well placed. They're kind of scattered. I've seen rock gardens, and I've liked them. This is not one of them I like. But that's an opinion, right? But the nerve of him to look at my yard and say that I'm not taking care of it when I'm making it more and more green, and I'm conditioning the clay soil so it can host several different types of flowers that it couldn't otherwise, and grow vegetables that it couldn't. I'm reclaiming the land from what was once a pine forest back in the 1800s that got denuded because it didn't know better for the logging industry. And I'm making it green again. I'm making it so that the soil turns from this red, oily clay into blacker and blacker stuff because I'm putting potassium in it and calcium and such from, natural methods that I learned in school. I paid attention in science class. Imagine that. And it's not perfect because I'm an amateur, but gradually I will have it looking the way I want it to, like it's out of a magazine. It's just not there yet. I've only been here 5 years, and this is some very, very acidic soil, thanks to the clay and the former pine forest, cedar pine. Yeah? So this guy, how he found out I lost my documents, I didn't lose them exactly, I misplaced them, and I found them again. But I told somebody, and now I'm going to have to be careful what I tell her, because even though I don't think she did this maliciously, she was talking about my private shit with somebody else that really has no business knowing this. She and I are family, they and I are not. It's none of their business. I hope she's learned her lesson, because I was laughing about it and I didn't accuse her of anything. But I let her know that very quickly, within, maybe 20 minutes, this started happening. And I'm thinking, I've only told one other person. How is it that my one little piece of personal business belongs to everybody? It's either that, or he's one of maybe a dozen people that watched that video and decided to take it way out of proportion and use it as a ploy to remove me. He doesn't know who Bob is. He might want to be careful. If Bob cares. We'll see. Bob is a scaredy cat, I think. That's my opinion. That's my take on it. Bob is a scaredy cat who wants to talk to me, and he doesn't. So, and I've forgiven Bob. It's not a I'm not talking to my father thing. It's my father sort of wasn't in the picture to begin with, but he knows about me. And he pops up every now and then. You guys understand that. I don't have to go into it again. So anyway, from this little story, one would gather that I'm taking advantage of a guy who formerly owned this, not the person who sold it to me. The person who sold it to me bought it from him so he could pay his court costs and attorney's fees when he got caught cooking meth in one of his sheds in the back that launched into the sky and landed in the neighbor's yard behind me. It jumped the fence. It was the cow that jumped over the moon. The shed that jumped over the moon. Okay? Because he made a mistake with the gas and the water, the way he plumbed it in. Secretly under the dirt. And the funnier part about it is that he bragged to me that he did this when I was working for his insurance agent, who he insured his rental properties and this property that he was living in through. Now, I'm telling this story because it's already public knowledge. I didn't tell anybody prior to this. Why would I need to? He got himself in the paper by launching his shed into the air. And I don't know too many people that launch their shed into the air. But this guy did so. And then he got caught. Because, of course, then fire and police are going to come investigate. And they're going to find some really illegal substances within what's left of the shed. Basically, I think the floor, I remember reading, and the ground around it, and the shed where it's landed in the neighbor's yard. Anyway, so this gentleman, he has no claim to this property. And I don't understand why they are doing this to me, except that there's this story going around that there's special rocks in the driveway, that it's $1 million driveway. Well, I'm a rock nerd, and I'm going to tell you it's not $1 million driveway. It's gravel with once in a while a few crystals in it, just like any other load of gravel you're going to order and have placed in your driveway. Except that he stole these from a mine that did have special rocks. And these are the tailings, the stuff they've picked through already, the stuff they don't want anymore. Right? So once in a while you'll find a little crystal, but it's not the best kind of crystal. And most of them are nothing. They're just not. They're feldspar and hornblende and granite, a little bit of K-feldspar, that kind of thing. And some olivine, I think. Not what he thinks. And, you know, I find it so humorous that he has turned this into this mysterious treasure hunt type thing, this Indiana Jones type story. And it's not. It's just a little yard with a little gravel driveway that happens to have come from an interesting place, but the gravel we get here in our town from the aggregate place has stuff in it too, because we're on top of a mountain. And where do you think all those interesting stones come from? The top of a mountain. So you actually would get better chances of having interesting rocks in your gravel if you order it from those guys, because they get it from nearby here, because we're on top of a mountain. You're going to get the stuff that hasn't washed away yet. Nicer stuff, bigger stuff. He came an awful long way from the mine to dump it in his driveway. And it's the tailings. The really good stuff is in the initial load. Anyway, I have a neighbor that also up the street who I don't like either. Because she thinks she's a witch, and she might be a witch, but the point is she does weird things to my yard and my house that could be considered illegal and trespass and a punishable offense, but I've just put up more fence, and she got 4 amethyst crystals, I think, in her load of gravel from the aggregate place. I haven't found anything that interesting in my gravel. I've lived here 5 years, and I haven't found anything that interesting. And I've forked through it, raked it, just to see if he knows what he's talking about. It's not that great. So it's kind of like the explorers coming over here and finding a lot of pyrite and telling the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth I, that it's gold. And she didn't know any better, and she believed it. I think there might be a few jewelry pieces made of this pyrite. I'm not sure. In the British Royal Museum. I'm not sure. I have to go look it up. I'm not going to do that for this video, though, because right now I'm laughing at my neighbors who, they're just funny. There's nothing like that. It's like the pyrite story. And then if they really were to go look a little harder at this guy, because I guess he went and drove for another mine in Wyoming, and this one they mine kimberlite at. And if you're a rock nerd, you know what kind of crystals can be found in kimberlite. And that if it's a kimberlite mine, they're not looking for the kimberlite per se. They're looking for the crystals within the kimberlite. Which means that those 12 boulders sitting in his yard are kind of suspect and might be worth a lot more than the ground they're sitting on, and definitely worth more. One crystal could be valued higher, depending on its size, could be valued to be worth more than the piece of land that I'm sitting on. I mean, I'm just saying. I noticed he's been crushing them too. So you don't normally get boulders like that you want to use for landscaping and then crush them a couple at a time. I mean, I wonder what people would think, but he hasn't brought any more, so I don't know. I don't know. Speculation, allegedly, even though it's right there in plain sight. The mine is nowhere near here. Who knows? Right? Not my problem. It's his problem. His problem. But he needs to leave my house alone. Because I bought it fair and square from the guy he sold it to. And I just have this feeling he's behind this nonsense. I've had people tell me that he's got meth buried in the ground here. And I've dug up a lot of holes because I've planted a lot of things. And at one point I thought I had a pond starting here after these earthquakes we had over the last 2 years. And we did, and then it went away. So I don't know what kind of water source it was, like groundwater that just got shifted. Thank God it wasn't my plumbing again. The water heater incident. I had all these dreams about having a fresh water source and blah, 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 and it just went away after another couple of earthquakes. So yeah, it was a fluke. And I've put in post holes, and I've had to do things. And I even ran a metal detector to see if there was containers of any kind. Mostly it's just old plumbing. And boxes that are... I don't know why people find those kind of boxes interesting. You go to the museum. Oh, this is an old cracker tin. Oh, that's nice. Like, you've seen one, you've seen them all. And I found gloves without mates and bags of garbage because evidently he was burying his garbage or having his tenants bury their garbage before he sold it. He tried to rent it out. I just none of the stories are true. Oh yes, he hid money in the walls. He hid money under the house. We've had to go under there to do the plumbing. There is no money under the house. There was a lot of garbage. Somebody was camping under there, a homeless person, I think, crawled in through our access panel because there was like wrappers from food and juice jugs and soda cans and beer cans underneath there. Somebody was camping under there. If there was anything there, that man took it out of there. It is not there now. So I thought that would be kind of cool, and I didn't know if he was ever coming back, but there's nothing there. It would be nice because I could pay off some student loans. I could finally open a computer repair shop instead of trying to run it from my home and having it fail over and over because I'm competing with two guys that have computer repair shops. And put in back doors and stuff so they can get their customers back. So, anyway, I just thought it was kind of funny that the neighbors think that there's some kind of pirate's booty here. And I'm like, the most interesting treasure here is chicken eggs. Any interesting rocks I have, I got hiking and going to Montana and back last summer. And they're not that interesting either. They're just cool. So, anyway, I guess I better break out the anal probing equipment. Teach somebody lessons about starting rumors and trespassing in my yard. Never trespass in a gray alien's yard. Even a half-breed. We have anal probes. I hope you enjoyed this episode of 81625. Later, Earthlings.